Good evening and welcome to another part of our genocide by a diet. You know, in this world there's so much confusion, so much disease, and most of it's because of toxic chemicals and food that we put in our mouth. And we're going to see that tonight. We look at all these little kids, 3 months old, suffering with leukemia. Why is that? So many more people dying of cancer at young ages that didn't exist before. So much deception in the food industry, and I do my best to expose as much of that as I can. So tonight we'll be looking at cancer, and it's one of the parts of the series that we have. We'll be looking at obesity, we'll be looking at diabetes, we'll be looking at heart disease, we'll be looking at more depth on toxic chemicals in the home and what they're actually doing to us. And we'll touch on a little bit of that stuff tonight. So again, I want to welcome you, and let's have a word of prayer before we start. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for your love and your kindness, your mercy. We thank you for the beautiful health message that you've given us in the Scriptures. And Father, whether we're believers or unbelievers, when we do the right things begin to happen. So we thank you, and we invite your Holy Spirit to be our teacher tonight, to expose the truth, the deceptions, and that people will bring it into their hearts. We each need to take charge of our own health, and that is our prayer in Christ's name. Amen. So diet and disease, cancer. Nothing will benefit human health and increase the chances for survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution of a vegetarian diet, Albert Einstein. And we will see the benefits as we go through this. Nothing can beat a whole food plant-based diet. The science is there, Scriptures are there, no matter which way you want to look at it, it's all there. And again, just a reminder, everything that's on the screen tonight, I have in print for those who want it. Hippocrates had a lot of great sayings. Let food be your medicine, medicine be your food. It's very healing. Complete health includes the body, the spirit, and the mind, and when one lacks, the others suffer to some degree. And I think you all would agree. We've all been sick and we don't want to be bothered. So everything suffers to some degree. Except many people are drunk on food, don't realize they're drunk on food. They think that's a crazy saying. But if I was to give you a fifth of Jim Beam, you wouldn't have no trouble saying I'm going to get drunk drinking all that. But if I give you certain foods, you don't think you can get poisoned on that. And we want to debunk myths and teach things through these courses. Just because something says vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. I can give you a pound of vegan candy, and I don't think you'd enjoy the health benefits of it. So how does cancer start?
What is cancer and how does it start? Hi, I'm Dr. Anthony Komaroff. Every one of us is made up of cells, trillions of them. Cancer begins when one cell starts to grow uncontrollably. Cells grow by dividing. One cell divides into two cells become 4 cells, and so on. Healthy cells divide only when they need to. Cells must divide for a baby to grow in the mother's womb, and then after birth to grow into an adult. Even after we become an adult, cells must divide to replace old or damaged cells. Normal cells divide in a controlled way, just when they need to. Cancerous cells, on the other hand, divide uncontrollably. Here, a cancerous cell, colored green, starts to divide, and it keeps dividing. The rapidly dividing cells push aside the healthy cells around them. They form a small cancer that at first is too small to see, and then begins to grow beyond the organ where it started. What makes a cell turn cancerous and divide uncontrollably? Cells divide when their genes tell them to. But if a gene has a mutation, it can tell a cell to divide when there's no reason for it to divide. Most cancers start because of mutations in several different genes. When a cancer starts, the body's immune system will often recognize the cancer cells as abnormal and attack them. This may kill some cancer cells, but it can't get rid of all of them. To have the energy to keep growing, the cancer needs a blood supply. To get that supply, the the cancer sends out chemical signals that draw blood vessels to it. Unfortunately, these vessels allow cancer cells to spread to other parts of the body. Some early cancers stop growing and never spread. These are called benign tumors. However, many cancers invade tissue around them and spread to other parts of the body. These are malignant cancers. To learn more, see the video called How Cancer Spreads. From Harvard, I wish you good health.
So, most common cancers, this is kind of in their descending order according to estimated new cases in 2018, are breast cancer, lung and bronchus cancer, prostate cancer, colon and rectum cancer, melanoma of the skin, bladder cancer, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, kidney and renal pelvis cancer, endometrial cancer, leukemia, pancreatic cancer, thyroid cancer, liver cancer. It's amazing. We see all these different types of cancers, and yet again we will see tonight how much our food affects this in our bodies and toxic chemicals in our homes. So much deception. I'm going to read real quickly just a couple highlights. I did a series on dairy products, how bad dairy is, and dairy is one of the most toxic products you can eat in this country. I know people don't like to hear that. I know when I became a vegan, whole food plant-based 32 years ago, I was a cheeseaholic and stuff, and I didn't want to believe stuff, and I didn't know what I know now, and it's gotten worse. But listen just to a few of these statistics. Myths or facts. This comes from Hoard's Dairyman, volume 147, February 25th, 2002. Now they've known this 17 years ago, and yet people still aren't aware of what's going on in there. And they've been feeding this to people for all those years, and it's not gotten better, it's gotten worse. The text of the ad reveals this simply. Most dairy herds are affected by bovine leukemia virus. According to the ad, 89% of the dairy herds in the United States have cows infected with leukemia. Then they pool this. There's only a few big major ones anymore. This article comes from Not Milk, talking about in New Jersey, where they buy and pool milk together from an average of 600 New York, Pennsylvania, and Jersey farms. On an average, 534 of the 600 farms have cows infected with leukemia. This is serious. Milk and dairy is in so many products, and it's hidden with names. Breast cancer surgeon Dr. Krajian says milk is pooled. A very large percentage of all milk produced contaminated, 90 to 95%. It's proven that it contributes to human leukemia, lymphoma, related cancer. It takes 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese, so that concentrates it. FDA and USDA regulate safety, right? Wrong. You have to learn to read labels just a little bit. We're talking about the dangerous pesticides and chemicals in these foods. Hoard's Dairyman says again, pesticides and AD and ADHD are connected. It's just a fact. Pesticides in children double the chances of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. USDA tested milk from 739 farms. 96% contain DDE, which is a breakdown of DDT, which is banned. So they have other ways around. 99% contain DPA, 41% dieldrin, which is a pesticide that is connected now with Parkinson's, breast cancer, immune, reproductive, and nervous system damage. 18% with endocrine disruptor, 4%, it goes on and on. So as we can see, big problem. We know that it produces cancer cells. If we know that, folks, we need to stay away from things when it's proven that it does these things. The most common types of cancer in males are lung cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer, stomach cancer. Most common in women, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, lung cancer, cervical cancer. In children, the most common types of cancer are leukemia and brain cancer. 2012, about 165,000 children under 15 were diagnosed with cancer. This never happened in the past. In 2015, 90.5 million people had cancer. 14.1 million new cases occurred year. This is around the world. 8.8 million deaths. More cancer facts. Tobacco use, most of us know that, cause about 22% of cancer deaths. Another 10% are due to obesity, poor diet, lack of physical activity, or excessive drinking of alcohol. Diet, physical inactivity, and obesity are related up to 30 to 35% of cancer deaths. You get that? Obesity, physical inactivity. And we have learned to be couch potatoes in this country. We have to take charge of our own health. No one can do that for us. It's serious business. We pay now or we pay later. And anybody that's ever had someone in their family die of cancer or a horrible disease, and they die in your arms and you watch them suffer, makes you wonder. And when you think that over 85% of that is strictly because of diet-related thing, the New Start and activities. In the United States, excess body weight is associated with the development of many types of cancer and is a factor in 14 to 20% of cancer deaths. Just being obese. Insulin-like growth factors, that IGF-1. Their binding proteins play a key role in cancer cell proliferation. And it's big in dairy. The other thing big in dairy is high in estrogen because they keep the cows pregnant, so they'll produce milk. They produce up to 135 liters a day per cow. That's what started all this cancer stuff and blood dripping into the milk. It's just not a safe product. Medical use of ionizing radiation is a small but growing source of radiation-induced cancers. Ionizing radiation may be used to treat other cancers, but this may, in some cases, induce a second form of cancer. Especially when it was all this coming out with the E. coli and stuff was there. And I like the way they put it. If you look at their articles, most of that radiation goes through the meat, most of it. So now we're radiating meat. We're adding carbon monoxide to meat to keep the color, so even when it's half spoiled, it still looks fresh. People are eating it, not realizing. We see meat glue. It's just so much stuff going on in the food industry. That original diet, whole food, plant-based, you just can't beat it. And that should be a target. And lifestyle change is hard, but it's not impossible. The vast majority of cancers are non-hereditary. They're sporadic, contrary to what people say. Hormones are important agents in sex-related cancers, such as cancer of the breast, endometrium, prostate, ovary, and testis, and all the thyroid cancers and bone cancers. Obese people have higher levels of some hormones associated with cancer. And right now, 1/3 of America is obese. 1/3. That's over 100 million people are walking around. We're not also talking about hundreds of billions of dollars of health costs just because people have been taught wrong what to eat, what not to eat. In the 50s, I heard it over and over again. Milk was the perfect food. You should have at least 3 glasses a day. It goes on and on. It's one of the worst products you can put in there. People who exercise far more than average have lower levels of these hormones and lower risk of cancer. It's one of the 8 natural laws, what we call New Start, which we'll be covering in the future. 2017, an estimated 15,270 children, adolescents 0 to 19 were diagnosed with cancer. 1,790 died of the disease. And we're having more and more children die. It's just, it's so senseless. 2018, there will be approximately 22,240 new cases of ovarian cancer, 14,070 cancer deaths from ovarian cancer, 2,500 toxic chemicals used in the cosmetic industry. And what's our biggest eliminating organ? Skin. So where do we apply cosmetics? With all this garbage and chemicals in there, skin. And we know that the skin absorbs things and it puts things out. We sweat and get rid of things. But we also know people use nicotine patches, right? We see that, and to help them with their nicotine, that means it absorbs through the skin. So when we're putting things like this, unbeknownst, thinking it's safe products, it's not. It's far from being safe. In Canada, you have to throw your cosmetic products in the hazardous waste containers. You can't throw them in regular garbage. That ought to tell us something. Exposure to particular substances has been linked to specific types of cancer. These substances are called carcinogens, many carcinogens in everyday household products, just a fact. And it's easy to get past that. People who are interested, we can redirect people with our ministry where you can go to get rid of a lot of toxic chemicals. The healthy home, this is just a touch on it. We'll be doing stuff in the future with all the toxic chemicals in the home, the asthmas that it causes, the lung cancers that it causes with outgassing. It sounds radical because it is radical. We've been deceived for a lot of years, and we do things with pretty, we make it look good, just like putting famous people with a white mustache. The milk is good food and promoting this stuff. Not good food. Let's see some of the dangers of what's lurking in our homes. I'm going to turn it down. The music's not the best. So we can see just a brief introduction of what is actually going on in our homes. Again, folks, I have a passion on this because it makes you weep when you see how many people are sick and dying, suffering needlessly. And so much of it is about the money and big businesses and the deceptions that they do. Previously we showed what fat, salt, and sugar does in products, how it makes it addictive. We'll see more of those things in the future. So household cleaning products causing health problems. Another short one.
You're lurking in classrooms and homes, and there is growing evidence that cleaning supplies can increase the risk of asthma and other problems in children and adults. As News Center 5's Rondella Richardson reports, a local advocacy group is on a mission now to reduce toxic chemicals in schools, hospitals, and all public buildings.
Doing the household chores with some common cleaning products can do damage to your health, according to a report released today by a national environmental group.
You feel like sick. Sometimes you can have breath problems, dry skin, red eyes.
Ammonia and Clorox should be used infrequently, if not completely avoided. The ingredients that are not listed often make up 99% of a bottle and includes fragrances, which are most harmful.
Because the chemicals that are in fragrance are possible endocrine disruptors. They affect our hormone systems. From there, they could lead to reproductive damage or birth defects or certain kinds of cancers. They're called phthalates.
Today, 20 million people have asthma. That's 3 times more than 25 years ago. That's $16 billion in annual health care costs. 10% of school-aged children have asthma.
The teachers are often using these products, bleaching the kids' desks all the time, very high overuse of the chemicals.
There are safer cleaning solutions.
It's based in vinegar, water, borax.
The Safer Cleaning Products Act is being heard tomorrow and would require that no product is used in a public building unless it's on a safe product list. The Department of Public Health would update the list, and there are penalties, fines for violations. It'll be about a month before state legislation moves out of committee. So in the meantime, do your homework. Use safer products to protect your family's health. In Alston, Rondella Richardson, News Center 5.
And if you'd like to learn more statistics on asthma and ways to reduce the risks, you can click on the health section of thebostonchannel.com. The full household hazards report is available and lists alternative cleaning products.
At the turn of the 1900s, there's only something like 67 chemicals used. Now we have over 72,000 chemicals used in all types of things in this country and around the world. Estimated numbers of new cancer cases and deaths 2018, 1,735,350,000, 609,640 deaths. 2018, 1,735,000 again. Worth repeating twice to see what you have. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of suffering and a lot of families. And the sad part is if we took 85% of those numbers and threw them in the garbage, that's what would happen if people would learn about how to eat properly, put the right things in their body, get away from these processed meats that they know are known carcinogenics. Even the American Medical Association in June of 2017 told the hospitals they need to get rid of their processed meats because they are carcinogenic and they want them to replace them with some of the whole food plant-based menus and better alternatives. So even with the AMA saying that, the challenges are great. And I know that lifestyle change can be difficult, but we pay now or pay later. No one wants to see their family members suffering. Cancer is the second most common cause of death among children ages 1 to 14 in the U.S. after accidents. Can you imagine that? Second most common death of young children. Approximately 70% of the deaths from cancer occur in low and middle income countries. That comes from the World Health Organization. Cancer is the second leading cause of death globally, responsible for 8.8 million deaths in 2015. Around 1/3 of the deaths from cancer are due to the 5 leading behavioral and dietary risks: high body mass index, low lack of physical activity, tobacco and alcohol use. Tobacco use, alcohol, unhealthy diet, physical inactivity are the major cancer risk factors worldwide. UK study, including data over 5 million people, show higher body mass index to be related to 10 types of cancer and responsible for 12,000 cases each year. There's association between clinic disease and increased risk of all cancers. That's very clear. Celiac, excuse me. In 2015, the WHO declared that bacon, sausage, and other processed meats cause cancer, such that they were placed in the same group number one carcinogenic categories: arsenic, asbestos, and cigarettes. Yet we tell people this is good, it's a healthy diet. Bacon, where does it come from? The stomach. Fat, high fat, where does all these chemicals and stuff store and stay? Humans and in animals. And the fat, it's just not safe. That's not to mention the 100 parasites in pork products. We can go down and down and down. There's so many problems. The bottom line is this, folks, that these produce cancer cells. And going long enough, people are going to suffer with it. You can just about guarantee yourself, if you don't die of something else beforehand, that you will die of cancer if you don't change some of your diet and realize these foods, these toxic foods, we need to stay away from. And there's good alternatives. World Health Organization made its decision after reviewing exhaustive evidence provided by 22 science, 400 studies from 10 different countries. The information took into account data from several 100,000 subjects. Modified and avoid risk factors. Modifying or avoiding risk factors can significantly reduce the burden of cancer. Factors include tobacco use and alcohol use, being overweight or obese. And again, the nice side effect of going to a whole food plant-based is weight falls to wherever it needs to fall. You don't even have to be concerned with it. It's just one of the side effects of having a good diet. Unhealthy diet with low fruit and vegetable intake, lack of physical activity. And that doesn't mean you have to work out in the gym and lift weights and all that stuff. A nice brisk walk every day for a half hour or longer if you can does plenty good. You get a lot of benefits, especially if the sun is out. You get the benefits of the sunshine, the fresh air, and the exercise. Helps attitudes. It goes on and on. Sexually transmitted HPV infection, infection by hepatitis or other carcinogenic infections, ionizing and ultraviolet radiation, urban air pollution, indoor smoke, toxic chemicals. Many cancers can be prevented by not smoking, maintaining. We know these things. We just have to learn to stay away from them. And you know that the women who work in the home have a 58% higher risk and disease of cancer than people who work in the field due to the toxic chemicals that they're exposing themselves to all the time in the cleaning products. And that can be changed overnight. There's just many ways. Again, this link goes up, or I can give my email, whatever, and I can give you that information if you're interested. Cancer prevention is defined as an active measure to decrease cancer risk. The vast majority of cancer cases are due to environmental risk factors. These are things we can take charge of. Many of these factors are lifestyle choices, thus cancer is generally preventable. Between 70 and 90% of common cancers are due to environmental factors. 70 to 90%. And there's good news. A lot of these are reversible. You will see people that have had stage 4 different types of cancer, gone to whole food plant-based diets, who are completely cured of that. Tumors gone. My wife, 19 years this summer, she had 4 tumors of breast cancer. We were blessed. Inside of 30 days, the tumors are gone. We've had 5 friends. There's nothing that's 100%, but there's things that are a lot better. And the medical world has its place, but it's also very misused. And we depend on doctors and others to take care of our health, and that can't be. It just doesn't work. And a lot of them are not educated in nutrition. And so the challenge is there. But I can promise you this, you make a commitment for 14 days even, or 21 days, whole food plant-based diet. Just make that and include water drinking in that during the day. You will be absolutely amazed at how you feel, the energy that you have, and I doubt if you'd ever want to go back to the standard American diet. So I challenge you to give that a try and find somebody to be accountable to so you both can do it together. And if you have a bad hair day, write it off and keep on going. Whole food plant-based diet, remember, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Dr. Greger, beating cancer with a plant-based diet. Let's see what Dr. Greger has to say.
Heart disease is killer number 1. Killer number 2 is cancer. You know, 500,000 Americans are expected to die this year with cancer. That's like 5 jumbo jets crashing every day. The number of Americans who die from cancer each year is more than all those who died in all the wars combined. And this happens every single year, all U.S. wars combined. What happens when you put cancer on a plant-based diet? Well, Dr. Dean Ornish and colleagues were able to show that the progression of prostate cancer could be reversed with the same plant-based diet and lifestyle program, and no wonder. If you drip the blood of those eating the standard American diet onto cancer cells growing in the Petri dish, you can suppress cancer growth a little bit. But you put people on a plant-based diet for a year, though, and their blood can do this. The blood circulating throughout the bodies of those eating plant-based has nearly 8 times the stopping power when it comes to suppressing cancer cell growth. Now, this was for prostate cancer in men. They wanted to repeat this study using women and breast cancer, number one cancer killer specific to women. But look, they didn't want to wait a whole year to get the results. Women are dying now. I said, okay, let's see what happens if we put women on a plant-based diet for just 2 weeks against 3 different types of human breast cancer. This is the before cancer cell growth powering away at 100%, then after eating healthy for just 2 weeks. Here's a kind of before picture. A constant layer of breast cancer is laid down in a petri dish. And then blood from women eating the standard American diet is dripped on them. As you can see, even people eating pretty poor diets have some ability to kind of break down cancer. These same women, put them on a plant-based diet and test them 2 weeks later. So same women, they act as their own controls. Right, draw their blood again after eating healthy for 2 weeks, then drip it on another carpet of breast cancer cells, and all you're left with is that. Their bodies cleaned up. Before and after, just 2 weeks eating healthy, right? The blood of those eating plant-based diets is dramatically less hospitable to cancer, right? That's what this shows. The blood of those eating plant-based, dramatically less hospitable to cancer. Now, slowing down the growth of cancer is nice. Getting rid of it's even better than what's called apoptosis, or programmed cell death. Your body's able to kind of reprogram cancer cells, forcing them into early retirement. This is what's called tunnel imaging, measuring DNA fragmentation or cell death, where dying cancer cells show up as little white spots. So as you can see, again, as we saw before, this is what the blood of your average woman can do to breast cancer cells. Her bloodstream can kill off a few. Right? But then after 14 days of plant-based living, her blood can do this. It's like you're an entirely different person inside. The same blood now circulating throughout these women's bodies gained the power to significantly slow down and stop breast cancer cell growth after just 2 weeks eating healthy. What kind of blood do we want in our body? What kind of immune system? Do we want blood circulating that just kind of rolls over when new cancer cells pop up? Or do we want blood circulating to every nook and cranny in our body with the power to slow down and stop it? Now, this dramatic strengthening of cancer defenses was after 2 weeks of a plant-based diet and exercise. They had these women out walking 30 to 60 minutes a day. You say, well, wait a second, if you do 2 things, how do you know what role the diet played? So researchers decided to put it to the test. And this is measuring cancer cell clearance. This is what we saw before, the effect of a plant-based diet, in this case for an average of 14 years, along with like mild exercise, like out walking every day. That's the kind of cancer cell clearance you can get. Compare that to the cancer-stopping power of your average sedentary American. See a little cheeseburger there, I don't know if you can try to catch that, which is basically non-existent. All right. But this middle group is the interesting group. Instead of 14 years on plant-based diet, 14 years standard American diet, but 14 years daily, strenuous hour-long exercise like calisthenics. They wanted to know, if you exercise long enough, if you exercise hard enough, can you rival some strolling plant eaters over there? And the answer is exercise help. No question. But literally 5,000 hours in the gym, no match for a plant-based diet. This is that same tunnel imaging we saw before. As you can see, even if you're a couch potato living off of fried potatoes, you're not totally defenseless, you can knock off a few cancer cells. You exercise for 5,000 hours, you can knock off cancer cells left and right, but nothing appears to kick more cancer tush than a plant-based diet. We think it's because animal proteins, meat, egg white, and dairy proteins, increase the level in our bodies of a cancer-promoting growth hormone called IGF-1. So the reason one of the largest prospective studies on diet and cancer ever found the incidence of all cancers combined was lower among those eating more plant-based, maybe because they're eating less animal protein, which means less IGF-1, which means less cancer growth. How much less cancer growth are we talking? Well, middle-aged men and women with high protein intakes had a 75% increase in overall mortality risk and a 4-fold increase of dying specifically from cancer. But not all protein, specifically animal protein. So the academic institution where this study was done sent out a press release with a memorable opening line, "That chicken wing you're eating could be as deadly as a cigarette." Explaining that, look, eating a diet rich in animal proteins during middle age makes you 4 times more likely to die from cancer, which is comparable to what one might get smoking cigarettes. So what was the response in the scientific community to this revelation that diets high meat, eggs, and dairy could be harmful to the health of smoking? Well, one nutrition scientist said it was potentially dangerous to tell people about this study. Why? Because a smoker might think, why bother quitting smoking? My ham and cheese sandwich is just as bad for me. So let's not tell anyone about this whole meat and dairy thing. True?
In closing, I have a couple little trailers I want to show you. They're excellent, that can be watched or purchased, or again, if people get in contact with me, I'd be glad to send you copies if need be. This Eating You Live is one of my favorites. I like it because it's mostly doctors in there, it has science in there, has fantastic testimonies. So we'll watch this little clip. In closing, just remember this. When we eat food, we're either feeding disease or we're fighting disease. There isn't nothing in between. When the science is there and the thousands of studies, and Dr. Campbell's China study was done, and we see the effects from every avenue, when we know for a fact that dairy promotes cancer cells, it's a main factor in diabetes, it's loaded with estrogen, it's loaded with sugar, IGF-1, antibiotics, insecticides, etc., etc. And even if you had homegrown, as some people say, you still have the same problems with the IGF-1 hormone. So one of the troubles we have in America is that we can, and I'm in this category, we have a replacement mentality rather than get rid of it mentality. But there is good news and there's good ways to transition. And we'll be covering all that stuff in the future, so I hope you'll be with us. But let's watch this little trailer from Eating You Alive. It'll give you the big picture of plant-based diet.
People aren't living longer, they're dying longer.
I'm a steak guy.
Fish.
Sushi, actually.
Got up as heavy as 518 pounds.
6 months you'll be in dialysis or you'll be dead.
I can't have that one candy bar a week because I didn't have an off switch.
You're going to be on insulin the rest of your life.
I wasn't making any progress on the pills.
We see this kind of cancer, there is no known cure.
I was flat on a gurney and they were debating, do I have triple bypass? I thought that my hypertension was genetic.
You're out of control, and they were not giving me any hope at all.
We had the cure, we've had it for decades.
What we know from cigarette smoking is the public doesn't like to be lied to.
We need education more than medication.
Can't blame doctors. They're not trained in this field.
I was really angry. I just could not understand why I didn't learn any of this in medical school.
The food industry, which is $1 trillion industry, uses very similar kind of tobacco-style techniques, paying off scientists and funding studies.
What is on our plate is really affecting our environment.
We have been putting the wrong fuel in our body.
Americans, Europeans are being poisoned by these animal foods.
You can see what the person is eating by looking at the plaque in their artery.
There's a plaque right there.
We're literally bypassing the problem.
Without some serious lifestyle changes, this guy will be back.
Foods are the cause of diabetes, of heart disease, of many forms of cancer, of hypertension. And if they're the cause, they can also be the solution.
I had to really look at it to see patients that I knew should be dead by my conventional training, alive and well, tumors melting away.
The power is not inside of our hands as physicians. The power is inside your hands through your life choices.
Don't let your culture hold your heart hostage.
Many symptoms and diseases just melt away even after being there for years.
The doctor said this woman alleges to have lupus, but we're not finding any evidence of it.
Doctor says you're no longer diabetic.
The most important decision anyone makes every day is what they elect to put in their mouths.
I need to make a change, but what do I do?
In the nutrition classes that I teach, a big component of that is taking people to the grocery store and doing hands-on training and teach people label reading.
I think it is something that will really work. It's just my habits.
Probably 95%
of America has no idea how to eat.
It's not so much about trying to invent a new way of life, but rather discovering the foods that are right here in front of you.
I think that's the gift of the plant-based diet, is it really kind of taps into all your different creative parts, and you just start really experiencing a new variety.
This is my garlic Alfredo. It's just 7 ingredients. Just start out with chopping some onions, chopping some garlic.
We're on the cusp of a paradigm shift. To me, this is the future of food.
I can't imagine another way that we could have a greater impact on our health.
Standing in front of you is obviously not a hindrance in bodybuilding to eat whole plant foods.
To be able to push through 90 minutes and not get stopped by muscle cramps was an amazing feeling.
Food is powerful.
I've been in medicine for over 30 years, and for the very first time, I can truly look someone in the eye and I can say, I can heal you.
Why isn't every person trying this?
It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It saved my life, it saved my marriage.
It's really nice to do things when you get results.
Here, I was in control all along.
Gave me freedom.
This is where medicine should be.
Come on. What's on your plate?
Forks Over Knives, many people have seen it but haven't. You can find it on YouTube. You can also get it on Netflix. It's another great video on whole food plant-based diet. Watch just a little clip from that.
This could be the first generation of children in the United States that lives less than its parents.
I got 2 pills I take for my diabetes, then I got 1 for cholesterol, high blood pressure, and then I take Byetta, which is an injectable.
I'm getting really shaky and I'm sick and I'm fatigued, and that's when they diagnosed me with hypertension and diabetes.
Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure cost this country more than $120 billion each year.
People are saying, you're crazy. You're a cancer patient. You should be resting. Doctors told me this. When I had the second heart attack, the doctor said I should prepare for death.
Heart disease is an absolutely toothless paper tiger that need never ever exist.
People who were raised in Japan, the Philippines, Korea, China, never had heart disease, prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis.
This is the atlas of cancer mortality in China.
Virtually the Western diet was non-existent. They had no animal products. They had no dairy, no meat.
We learned that we could turn on and turn off cancer growth just by adjusting the level of intake of that protein.
I knew at that point what caused most diseases.
Our national authorities are simply excluding this concept in order to protect the status quo.
With the Western diet, there are going to be 500,000 people in this country this year who will have to have the front half of their body divided, their heart exposed. Some people would call that extreme.
I know of nothing else in medicine that can come close to what a plant-based diet can do.
If you go through life thinking that what happens to you from a health perspective is based on your genes, you're a helpless victim.
I reversed the diabetes. The diabetes is not coming back.
I just can't understand what it's done to change my life.
Diet is so much more important than anybody ever thought.
To me, the answer is so simple, it's criminal. It's just people starting to take responsibility for their health and starting to eat more plant-based foods. It's that simple.
As we can see how powerful food is, and again, a lot of those people in these films are doctors and health professionals that have been taught wrong for years. And when all these new studies came out and people started looking at it like Dr. Campbell and Esselstyn and others like that, change has taken place. It's so important, friends, that I'm passionate about exposing it. It's an abomination what big business does with the food industry when people are using meat glue to fake people out and they're eating meat that's glued together and fused together, cheap pieces and sold as high pieces, and it's done with pig's blood and other chemicals. And we see what they're doing to the animal industry. I mean, it goes on and on. But the bottom line is this. Our health, we have to take charge of ourselves. It's personal. My philosophy is learn to live it and then share it. This is the last short video we want to show, and we'll be closing up for the night.
The food
industry is under full-scale assault. The crisis is global. More of us are wanting to know the source of the food we buy.
If you don't know what's in your
In the last 50 years, food has turned into a commodity to be traded like a stock or a bond.
With money to be had, there will always be fraud in the marketplace.
This has consequences beyond description.
What people don't realize is farmers are fading. You used to be able to be this big happy family that stayed home together, that worked together all the time. That's not the case anymore.
We're aiding and abetting a massive act of theft. People should be concerned about this.
You get all the fish you want, you have no idea where it's coming from. And even frozen once, 2, 3, 4 times, all kinds of additives.
At your supermarket butcher, the parts from a single chicken will run you more than $7. To raise that bird, the grower was paid 36 cents.
The supply cannot meet the demand. Consumers are eating a product that is not honey.
Nearly half of food allergy deaths are caused by food from restaurants. Our bodies are rejecting the food we eat. And even the experts don't really know why.
There has to be someone that's willing to keep the fight alive.
This is all about making as big profits as possible.
This room, you're looking at $500,000.
Working hard isn't enough. Now you also have to work smart.
People will start to realize how wrong this is.
Are anybody's hands clean in this whole thing?
Nobody's hands are clean.
If you eat food, this is an issue you need to worry about.
Gives you a little insight, a little bit tough. When you see some of the stuff that happens with the animals, at the same time it exposes what's really going on with big businesses in the world, what they do for a profit. We've covered some stuff in the past, and we're going to cover some more in the future. But again, the deception is great. People think because they see something, they buy meat and it says USDA approved. Let me tell you, I was the executive at the largest in the United States back in the late 70s in Ohio. And I went through a course, 4 days for microbiology because they didn't have enough inspectors in the FDA, the USDA, so that we could do our own health inspection reports, and same with restaurants. Now, where do you think that lies with restaurants? You think they're going to flunk themselves and stuff when they can do their own inspections? And then people are going in and seeing something stamped USDA, thinking it's safe and been approved. Not so. Deceptions, again, just to briefly mention as we close. Again, go to the grocery store and look at things like Pam spray, those type of things. And you look at the front label, it says 100% fat-free. You look at the back label, it's 100% olive oil, which is 100% fat. So how can it be called fat-free and calorie-free? Because if it has 50 grams or less of fat in it, FDA says you can call it fat-free. So it goes to serving size, and you look and it'll say a third or a second. So here you are thinking you're buying something healthy because it says it's fat-free, and yet it's 100% fat. Then we go to things like McCain's chicken broth and those type of products. It says 99% fat-free, yet it's 67% fat. Because the law goes there, they go by weight. And so they have so much water in there versus the fat. So that's how they get away, calling it 99% when it's 67%. And again, people are being deceived. So a lot of people are trying to get healthy, trying to eat things. They look, corn syrup, I mean, the list goes on and on. So this is Genocide by Diet, and this is what we're hoping to inform you more, and hopefully it is helpful for you, that you can improve your diet. If you have questions, as you can tell, we're amateurs learning to do this, but we will get better with this by your help, by staying with us. And again, any of this information, we'll be glad to get it to you in one form or another if you're interested. So thanks for listening, and may you have a good day. Thank you.